My wife told me she was spending the summer with her ex-husband and said I could leave if I didn't like it. I didn't argue. I didn't fight. The next morning, I accepted a job transfer I had refused years ago and disappeared without saying goodbye. The dinner was ordinary. That's what still haunts me about it, all these months later. It wasn't a special occasion, wasn't an anniversary or a birthday or any of those calendar-marked moments when you brace yourself for significance. It was a Tuesday in early April, the kind of spring evening that holds the promise of summer without yet delivering its warmth. I had come home from work at my usual time, changed out of my suit, and helped set the table while my wife, Natalie, finished the pasta on the stove. Her daughters, technically, though I had raised them since they were 4 and 6, were at friends' houses. Chloe, the older one, was 16 now, always at someone's house or the mall or wherever teenagers go to escape the suffocating presence of parents. Emma, 14, was more homebound but still had her own life, her own schedule, her own growing independence. The house was quiet, just the two of us, and I remember thinking that this was nice. This was how it should be. Two people who had spent 15 years together still comfortable in each other's silence. I was wrong. Natalie served the pasta, poured herself a glass of wine, and sat across from me. She didn't start eating immediately, which was unusual. Usually she dove into her food with the focused energy she brought to everything. Instead, she sat with her hands wrapped around her wine glass, her gaze fixed somewhere over my shoulder, and I felt the first prickle of unease. "Something on your mind?" I asked, twirling pasta onto my fork. She took a breath. A long, deliberate breath, the kind people take before delivering news they know will land like a bomb. "I need to tell you something, and I need you to listen before you react." I set down my fork. "Okay, I've been talking to Mark. Mark, her ex-husband, the biological father of the girls I had raised as my own. He had been largely absent for the past decade. Birthday cards, occasional Christmas presents, the rare visitation that always left the girls confused and Natalie furious. He had remarried, divorced again, drifted in and out of their lives like a weather pattern no one could predict. "What about?" I asked, my voice carefully neutral. "He's been reaching out. He wants to be more involved. He regrets the years he missed, and he wants to make it up to the girls, to be a real father to them." She paused, watching me for a reaction. I gave her none. "I've been thinking about it, and I've decided that it's important. For them. They need their biological father in their lives." I nodded slowly, processing. "Okay, so what does that look like? More visits? Weekend dinners? He wants to take them for the summer. To his place in Maine. He has a house on the lake, and he thinks it would be good for them to spend time together, to bond, to build the relationship they never had." She finally looked at me, and her expression was not the uncertainty I expected, but something harder, more resolute. "I'm going with them." The words hung in the air between us. I heard them, understood them, but they took a moment to penetrate. "You're going with them?" "I'll spend the summer with Mark and the girls. They need their biological father, and they need me there to facilitate that. It's the right thing to do." I stared at her. 15 years. 15 years of marriage, of raising her daughters as my own, of turning down opportunities and making compromises and putting family first. 15 years of believing that we were building something together, something solid and lasting and real. And now she was telling me that she was spending the summer with her ex-husband. "What about me?" I asked, my voice quieter than I intended. "You can visit. Weekends, maybe. Or you can stay here and work." She waved her hand dismissively. "You're always working anyway." I wasn't always working. I worked a standard 40-hour week, sometimes less, because I had always prioritized family over career. I had turned down promotions that required travel, refused transfers that would uproot the girls, sacrificed professional advancement for the stability of our home. And now she was acting as if my presence was optional, interchangeable, easily set aside for the summer. "Let me make sure I understand," I said, my voice still calm. "You, your ex-husband, and the girls are going to spend the summer together in Maine. And I'm supposed to just stay here." "That's what I just said. And how do you think that's going to look? To the girls, to your friends, to anyone who knows us?" Her eyes flashed. "I don't care how it looks. I care about what's best for my daughters." "My daughters. Not our daughters. My daughters." The distinction was small, but devastating. After 15 years of parenting, of school plays and doctor's appointments and late-night conversations about boys and homework and the future, I was still not a real parent. I was just the stepfather, the placeholder, the man who had been there but could be set aside when the biological father decided to show up. If you don't like it, she added, her voice hardening, you can ask for a divorce. The words landed like a slap. She sat across from me, her expression challenging, waiting for me to react. She expected me to argue, to plead, to break down and beg her to stay. She had delivered her ultimatum, and now she was waiting for my response. I gave her none. I picked up my fork and resumed eating. I chewed slowly, deliberately, tasting nothing. I swallowed, took a sip of water, and continued eating. I did not look at her. She watched me for a long moment, confusion flickering across her face. Did you hear what I said? I heard you. And you have nothing to say? I finished my pasta, set down my fork, and wiped my mouth with my napkin. It sounds like you've made up your mind. There's nothing for me to say. I stood up, carried my plate to the sink, and began washing the dishes. Behind me, I heard her chair scrape against the floor, heard her footsteps retreating toward the living room. She didn't say another word. I washed the dishes, dried them, and put them away. I wiped down the counters and swept the floor. I performed the small rituals of order and cleanliness that had become second nature over 15 years of shared domesticity. And all the while, my mind was working, processing, calculating. 15 years ago, my company had offered me a transfer to their Paris office. It was a dream opportunity, a promotion, a raise, a chance to live in a city I had always loved. I had been 28 years old, unmarried, unattached, free to go anywhere and do anything. But I had also been in love with Natalie, who had 2 young daughters and an ex-husband who was already fading from their lives. She had cried when I told her about the offer. She had said she couldn't leave the country, couldn't uproot the girls, couldn't ask them to adjust to a new culture and a new language when they were still adjusting to their parents' divorce. She had said that if I really loved her, I would stay. I had stayed. I had stayed, and I had never regretted it. I had watched Chloe and Emma grow from preschoolers to teenagers. I had taught Chloe to ride a bike and helped Emma with her math homework. I had sat through school plays and parent-teacher conferences and endless recitals. I had been there, every day, for 15 years. I had been their father in every way that mattered. And now I was being told that I could be set aside for the summer while the biological father reclaimed his place. That my presence was optional. That my feelings were irrelevant. I finished cleaning the kitchen and walked to my home office. I sat at my desk, opened my laptop, and composed an email to my boss. Subject, Paris transfer. Dear Richard, I know it's been 15 years since we last discussed this, but I'm writing to ask if the Paris transfer is still available. I've reconsidered my priorities and would like to accept the position if it's still open. I'm available to discuss details at your earliest convenience. Best, David. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. The next morning, Richard called me at 8 a.m. David, I got your email. Are you serious? I'm serious. After all these years, what changed? I paused, considering how much to share. Let's just say that some opportunities one turned down for family reasons are now available to me again. The family reasons have shifted. Richard was smart enough not to press. The Paris position is still open. In fact, we've been trying to fill it for months. The timing is perfect. When can you start? I can be there in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. That's fast. I have nothing keeping me here. He was quiet for a moment, and I could hear the questions he wasn't asking. But he was a professional, and he knew when to leave well enough alone. All right, I'll have HR send you the paperwork. Welcome to the Paris office, David. I spent the next week in a state of suspended animation. I went to work, came home, ate dinner with Natalie and the girls, performed the rituals of normalcy while my mind raced with plans and calculations. I didn't tell Natalie about the transfer. I didn't tell anyone. I simply went about my days, waiting, watching, preparing. Chloe and Emma noticed nothing. They were teenagers, absorbed in their own worlds, and my presence had always been background noise to them. Natalie noticed nothing either, or if she did, she attributed my quietness to sulking about her announcement. She made no effort to engage me, to ask what I was thinking, to bridge the distance that had opened between us. She had made her decision, and she was waiting for me to accept it. I used the week to make arrangements. I contacted a moving company to pack and ship my personal belongings to Paris. I arranged for storage of the furniture and household items that I didn't want to take. I opened a new bank account, transferred funds, updated my will. I did everything quietly, efficiently, without leaving a trace. On Friday, I came home from work to find Natalie in the living room, surrounded by suitcases. The girls were upstairs, packing their own bags. The summer in Maine was beginning. "We're leaving tomorrow morning," Natalie said, not looking up from her packing. "I'll call you when we get there." "I won't be here." She paused, looking up. "What?" "I won't be here when you call." I set down my briefcase and walked to the kitchen, where I had left a letter on the counter. I brought it back to the living room and handed it to her. "I've accepted the Paris transfer. The one I turned down 15 years ago. I'm leaving tonight." She stared at the letter, then at me. "You're joking." "I've never been more serious." "You can't just leave. We're married. We have a life together." The girls are spending the summer with their biological father. That's what you told me. They don't need me." My voice was calm, steady, the voice of a man who had made peace with his decision. "And you told me that if I didn't like your plans, I could ask for a divorce." "I'm not asking for a divorce. I'm simply accepting an opportunity that I turned down once before. You're free to do whatever you want." Her face went white. "David, please. Let's talk about this. We've already talked. You made your position clear. Now I'm making mine." I picked up my bag, which I had packed that morning, and left by the door. "I've left the house and everything in it to you. The lawyers will be in touch about the divorce. I wish you and the girls well." I walked out the door before she could respond. The flight to Paris was 8 hours. I spent most of it staring out the window, watching the darkness give way to dawn over the Atlantic. I didn't sleep. I didn't cry. I simply sat, suspended between the life I had left and the life I was about to begin, and I let the miles accumulate between me and everything I had known. When I landed at Charles de Gaulle, it was mid-morning, local time. I collected my bags, cleared customs, and walked out into the gray Parisian light. A car was waiting for me, arranged by the company, and I climbed into the back seat and gave the driver the address of my new apartment. The apartment was small, furnished, located in the Marais district. It had a view of a courtyard and a tiny balcony where I could stand and watch the city go by. I unpacked my bags, hung my clothes in the closet, and stood on the balcony, breathing in the unfamiliar air. I was alone, completely, utterly alone, in a city where I knew no one and no one knew me. It was terrifying and liberating in equal measure. My phone buzzed. A text from Natalie. "Where are you? Your office said you're in Paris. Is this some kind of joke?" I didn't respond. Another text. "David, please call me. The girls are asking where you are. What am I supposed to tell them?" I still didn't respond. A third text. "I didn't think you would actually leave. I thought you would fight for us. Why didn't you fight?" I turned off my phone and went for a walk. The first week in Paris was a blur of orientation and adjustment. I reported to the office, met my new colleagues, learned the rhythms of a different workplace. I opened a French bank account, registered with the health system, navigated the bureaucracy of establishing a new life. I was busy from morning until night, too busy to think, too busy to feel. But at night, alone in my apartment, the thoughts came. I thought about Natalie, about the girls, about the 15 years I had given to a family that apparently hadn't considered me family at all. I thought about the dinner, the announcement, the casual cruelty of her ultimatum. I thought about the look on her face when I walked out the door, shock, disbelief, the first dawning realization that she had miscalculated. I didn't know if I had done the right thing. I didn't know if I would ever know. But I knew that I couldn't have stayed. I knew that staying would have meant accepting a version of myself that I no longer recognized. A man who could be set aside, dismissed, replaced. I had spent 15 years being that man, and I was done. On the 8th day, my phone rang. The caller ID showed Natalie's number. I let it go to voicemail. "David, it's me. I'm back home. The summer in Maine, it didn't happen. Mark canceled at the last minute. Something about work, something about his new girlfriend, something. He's not coming. He's not going to be there for the girls. He never was. I don't know why I thought this time would be different. I came home, and the house was empty. Your closet is empty. Your office is empty. It's like you were never here. The girls are asking where you are, and I don't know what to tell them. Chloe is crying. Emma won't talk to me. She says I drove you away. Please call me. Please. We need to talk." I listened to the voicemail twice, then deleted it. I didn't call back. The next day, another voicemail. "David, it's Natalie again. The girls want to talk to you. They have things they need to say. Chloe wrote you a letter. Emma wants to know if you're coming back for her birthday. Please, just call." Let us explain. Let me explain. I deleted that one too. I wasn't being cruel. I wasn't trying to punish them. I simply had nothing to say. The decision had been made, the path chosen. There was no going back, no undoing what had been done. The only way forward was forward. 2 weeks after I arrived in Paris, I received a package. It was from Chloe, forwarded from my old address. Inside was a letter, handwritten on notebook paper, and a photograph of the three of us, me, Chloe, and Emma, at her middle school graduation 3 years ago. Dear David, Mom told us what happened. She told us about the summer with Mark, about the fight, about you leaving. She said you went to Paris because you were hurt. She said you might not come back. I need you to know something. Mark is not my father. He never was. He's a guy who donated some DNA and then disappeared. You're the one who taught me to ride a bike. You're the one who helped me with my science fair projects. You're the one who sat through all those terrible school plays and told me I was amazing even when I forgot my lines. You're my father. You always have been. Emma feels the same way. She's been crying every night. She says she should have told you she loved you more, should have said it more often. She's 13, so she's not great at expressing feelings, but I know she means it. I don't know if you'll ever read this. I don't know if you'll ever come back. But I needed you to know that we love you. We love you, and we're sorry. We're sorry for everything. Please come home. Chloe. I read the letter 3 times. Then I folded it carefully and placed it in the drawer of my nightstand, next to the photograph. I didn't call. I didn't write back. But I kept the letter, and I read it often in the weeks that followed. 3 months passed. I settled into my new life in Paris. I learned the language, made friends, explored the city. I discovered that I was capable of happiness, even joy, without the family I had left behind. I discovered that I was not the dependent, accommodating man I had become in my marriage, but someone stronger, more resilient, more fully myself. I also discovered that I missed the girls. I missed them with an ache that never fully subsided, a constant background hum of loss. I missed Chloe's dry wit and Emma's infectious laugh. I missed family dinners and movie nights and the ordinary chaos of domestic life. I missed being their father. But I didn't miss Natalie. Not really. I missed the idea of her, the woman I had married, the partner I had believed in. But that woman had revealed herself to be someone else entirely. Someone who could set me aside, dismiss my feelings, treat me as optional. That woman I didn't miss at all. In December, I received another letter. This one was from Emma, her handwriting still carrying the rounded curves of childhood. Dear David, Chloe said she wrote you a letter months ago and you never responded. She said you probably didn't get it, or maybe you did and just didn't want to write back. I'm writing anyway because I need to say some things. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't tell you I loved you more. I'm sorry I took you for granted. I'm sorry I was such a typical teenager, all attitude and eye rolls, when you were just trying to be my dad. You are my dad, not Mark. Mark is a stranger who shows up sometimes and then disappears again. You're the one who was there every day. You're the one who made my lunches and helped with my homework and came to all my games. You're the one who held me when I was sad and celebrated when I was happy. You're my dad. Mom is different now. She's sad all the time. She doesn't say it, but I can tell. She made a huge mistake, and she knows it, and she doesn't know how to fix it. I don't know if you should forgive her. That's not for me to decide. But I wanted you to know that she's not the same person she was before. Losing you changed her. I hope you're happy in Paris. I hope you're taking care of yourself. I hope you know that we love you, and we always will. Please write back. Even just a postcard. I just want to know you're okay. Emma. I wrote back that night. A short letter, simple and honest. Dear Emma, I got your letter. Thank you for writing. Thank you for saying what you said. I'm okay. I'm more than okay. I'm building a new life here, and it's good. It's different from what I had, but it's good. I miss you. Both of you. I miss you more than I can say. But I can't come back. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I need to figure out who I am outside of being your dad, outside of being Mom's husband. I need to find myself. That doesn't mean I don't love you. I love you both more than you'll ever know. You are my daughters. You always will be. No amount of distance or time will change that. I'm including my new address. You can write to me anytime. I'll always respond. Take care of each other. Love, David. I mailed the letter and waited. A week later, a postcard arrived from Chloe. Then another from Emma. Then letters, regular and frequent, filling the gaps in our relationship with words. We never talked about Natalie. They mentioned her occasionally, in passing, but I didn't ask, and they didn't offer. Some conversations were too painful, too complicated, too laden with history to navigate through letters. We focused on the simple things: school, friends, hopes for the future. We rebuilt our relationship, slowly, carefully, one word at a time. In the spring, I received an email from Natalie. "David, I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I know I have no right to ask anything of you. But I need to say some things, and I hope you'll read this even if you don't respond. I was wrong. I was so wrong about everything. About Mark, about the summer, about you. I convinced myself that the girls needed their biological father, that DNA mattered more than presence, that you would always be there no matter how I treated you. I was wrong. You weren't supposed to leave. That's not an excuse, it's an explanation. I thought I could say anything, do anything, and you would stay. You had always stayed. 15 years, and you had never once threatened to leave, never once made me feel like I might lose you. I took that for granted. I took you for granted. When you walked out that door, I thought you would come back. I thought you needed time to cool off, to think, to realize that you couldn't just abandon the life we had built. I never imagined you would actually go to Paris. I never imagined you would actually leave. The summer with Mark was a disaster. He canceled at the last minute. Something about work, something about his new girlfriend, something that mattered more than his daughters. The girls were devastated. They cried for days. And then they came home and found you gone, and they cried for weeks. I've spent every day since then regretting my choices. Every single day. I've been in therapy. I've been trying to understand why I did what I did, why I treated you the way I did. The short answer is that I was scared. Scared that you would realize you deserved better. Scared that the girls would love you more than they loved me. Scared that I wasn't enough. So I pushed you away before you could leave on your own terms. I made it so that if you left, it would be your fault, not mine. It was stupid. It was cruel. And I'm sorry. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect you to come back. I just wanted you to know that I see it now. I see what I did, and I'm trying to become someone who wouldn't do it again. I hope you're happy in Paris. I hope you found peace. You deserve it. Natalie. I read the email 3 times. Then I closed my laptop and sat on my balcony, watching the sun set over the Paris rooftops. I thought about Natalie, about the 15 years we had shared, about the woman she had been and the woman she had become. I thought about the girls, about their letters, about the relationship we were slowly rebuilding. I thought about myself, about the man I had been and the man I was becoming. I didn't respond to her email. I didn't have the words, and even if I did, I wasn't sure she deserved to hear them. Some wounds are too deep, some betrayals too fundamental, to be healed by apologies and explanations. The best I could offer was silence, and that would have to be enough. Another year passed. I became fluent in French, promoted at work, integrated into the fabric of Parisian life. I made friends, dated occasionally, built a life that was full and rich and entirely my own. I was happy, not the cautious, provisional happiness of my marriage, but a deeper, steadier contentment that came from knowing myself and choosing my own path. The girls visited me that summer. Chloe was 18 now, about to start college. Emma was 16, growing into a young woman I barely recognized from the child I had left behind. They came for 2 weeks, and we filled every moment with laughter and exploration and the quiet joy of rediscovering each other. We climbed the Eiffel Tower, wandered the Louvre, ate croissants in tiny cafes. We talked for hours about everything and nothing, their lives, my life, the future stretching before us. We didn't talk about Natalie, didn't revisit the painful history that had brought us here. We simply enjoyed each other's company, grateful for the chance to be together. On their last night, as we sat on my balcony watching the lights of Paris twinkle below us, Chloe turned to me. "Are you ever coming home?" I considered the question. This is my home now. But what about us? What about Emma and me? You'll always have a home here. With me. Whenever you want to visit. For as long as you want to stay. I reached out and took her hand. "You're my daughters. That doesn't change because I live in a different country." Emma leaned against my shoulder. "I wish you could come back." "I know. I wish a lot of things too. But I can't go back to who I was or what I had. That person is gone, and that life is over. All I can do is move forward and hope that you'll move forward with me." They nodded, accepting my terms. We sat in silence for a long moment, watching the city breathe below us. "I love you, Dad," Emma whispered. "I love you too, sweetheart. Both of you. Always." They left the next morning, and I stood on my balcony watching their taxi disappear into the Paris traffic. I felt the familiar ache of separation, the hollow space they left behind. But beneath the ache was something else, gratitude. Gratitude that they had come, that we had reconnected, that the bond between us had survived everything. I was their father, not their biological father, not their stepfather, not their mother's ex-husband. Their father. And nothing, not distance, not time, not the choices of adults, could change that. 2 years after I left, Natalie called me. I was in my apartment, grading papers for the design course I taught at a local university, when my phone rang with an unfamiliar number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. David. Her voice was hesitant, uncertain. It's Natalie. I set down my pen. I know. I wasn't sure you would answer. I almost didn't. A pause. I could hear her breathing, gathering herself. I'm not calling to ask for anything. I needed to hear your voice. To tell you something. I'm listening. I've been in therapy for 2 years. Real therapy, not the half-hearted kind I tried before. I've been working on understanding myself, understanding why I did what I did, understanding how to become someone different. Another pause. It's been hard. The hardest thing I've ever done. But it's also been the most important. I waited, letting her speak. I know I can't undo what I did. I know I can't get those years back, can't repair the damage I caused. But I wanted you to know that I'm trying. I'm trying to be better, to be someone my daughters can respect, to be someone who wouldn't make the same mistakes again. That's good, I said. For them, that's good. For me too. She hesitated. I also wanted to thank you. For being there for the girls. For not abandoning them even though you had every right to. For being their father when I tried to replace you with someone who never deserved the title. I thought about Chloe and Emma, about their letters and visits, about the relationship we had rebuilt across an ocean. They're my daughters. That never changed. I know. I see that now. Her voice cracked slightly. I see a lot of things now. Too late, probably. But I see them. We talked for a few more minutes, surface-level updates about her life, her work, her ongoing therapy. When we hung up, I sat in silence for a long moment, processing the conversation. I didn't forgive her. I wasn't sure I ever would. But I felt something shift inside me. Not forgiveness, not reconciliation, but a kind of release. The anger that had sustained me for so long was fading, replaced by something quieter, more peaceful. I no longer needed to be angry at Natalie. I no longer needed anything from her at all. That was freedom. 5 years after I left, I returned to the United States for Chloe's wedding. She was marrying a wonderful man she had met in college, a gentle soul with kind eyes and a steady job. She had asked me to walk her down the aisle, and I had accepted without hesitation. Whatever history existed between me and Natalie, between me and the life I had left behind, this moment belonged to Chloe and me. I arrived a week before the wedding, staying at a hotel rather than the family home. Natalie and I had agreed to keep our distance, to focus on Chloe's happiness rather than our complicated past. It was awkward, stilted, but we managed. The wedding was beautiful. Chloe was radiant, her dress flowing, her smile incandescent. Emma was the maid of honor, beautiful and poised, a young woman I barely recognized from the teenager who had visited me in Paris. I walked my daughter down the aisle, placed her hand in her husband's, and took my seat in the front row. During the reception, Natalie approached me. She looked older, softer, the sharp edges of her personality worn smooth by years of reflection and growth. Her eyes were wet. "Thank you for being here," she said. "It means everything to her. She's my daughter. I wouldn't miss it." We stood in awkward silence for a moment, the music and laughter swirling around us. "I'm sorry," she said quietly, "for everything. I know it's not enough. I know it's years too late. But I needed to say it." I looked at her, this woman who had once been my whole world, who had broken my heart and forced me to rebuild myself from rubble. I didn't love her anymore. I didn't hate her either. She was simply a person from my past, connected to me through the daughters we shared. "Thank you," I said. "I appreciate that." She nodded, accepting the limitation of my response. She turned and walked away, disappearing into the crowd of guests. I didn't watch her go. I turned back to the dance floor, where Chloe and her new husband were swaying to a slow song, lost in each other's eyes. Emma was dancing with their father, their biological father, Mark, who had shown up for the wedding after years of absence. He was trying, apparently, to be present. I wished him well, from a distance. I didn't dance. I stood at the edge of the floor, watching my daughters celebrate, and I felt a profound, bone-deep contentment. I had played my part, done my job, fulfilled my role. I had been their father when it mattered, and they knew it. That was enough. The next day, I flew back to Paris. My life in Paris continued to flourish. I was promoted again, became a partner in the firm, bought an apartment of my own, a real apartment, not the rental I had occupied for years. I had friends, hobbies, a community. I had a girlfriend, a French woman named Sylvie who understood my history and accepted my complexities. I had a life that was rich and full and entirely my own. Chloe and Emma visited regularly. They came for holidays, for summer breaks, for the occasional long weekend. They brought their partners, their friends, their expanding lives. My apartment became their home away from home, filled with their laughter and their presence and the evidence of our enduring bond. Natalie and I never became friends. We exchanged occasional emails about the girls, coordinated visits and holidays, maintained a polite distance. She had remarried, I heard, to a man who treated her well. I was happy for her, in the abstract way one is happy for strangers. But I didn't think about her often. My thoughts were elsewhere, on my work, my life, my daughters, my future. The past was the past, and I had made peace with it. 10 years after I left, I retired from the firm and bought a small house in the French countryside. It was a stone cottage with a garden and a view of the hills, exactly the kind of place I had always dreamed of. Sylvie moved in with me, and we spent our days gardening, cooking, enjoying the simple pleasures of a life well lived. Chloe and Emma came to visit, now with children of their own. I was a grandfather. Poppy, they called me, a title I wore with pride. I taught them to bake bread and identify wildflowers and speak French with atrocious accents. I watched them grow, these children of my daughters, and I marveled at the strange and beautiful path that had brought me here. One evening, as the sun set over the hills, Chloe sat with me on the terrace. She was 40 now, a mother, a professional, a woman fully formed. She looked at me with the same direct gaze she had possessed as a child. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "Leaving when you did?" I considered the question. I regret the pain it caused. I regret the years I missed with you and Emma. But I don't regret the decision itself. It was the right thing for me, at that moment. And it led me here. To this life. To this life. To you, sitting here with me. To your sister and her family. To Sylvie and this cottage and the peace I've found. I reached out and took her hand. I wouldn't trade this for anything. She squeezed my hand, her eyes bright. "I'm glad you're my father. I'm glad you're my daughter." We sat in silence, watching the sun sink below the hills, and I thought about the journey that had brought us here. The dinner, the announcement, the ultimatum, the silent acceptance, the quiet planning, the flight to Paris, the years of separation and reconstruction, the letters and visits, and slow rebuilding of trust, the wedding, the grandchildren, the life I had built from the ashes of the one I had lost. It had not been easy. It had not been quick. It had required more courage and resilience than I had known I possessed. But it had been worth it. Every painful moment, every difficult choice, every step into the unknown had been worth it. Because here, now, in this moment, I was exactly where I was supposed to be. Surrounded by love, at peace with the past, grateful for the present, hopeful for the future. And that was everything. I am 73 years old now. Sylvie passed away 2 years ago, peacefully, in her sleep. I miss her every day, but I carry her with me in the memories we made, the life we built, the love we shared. Chloe and Emma are in their 40s, with children of their own. They visit often, sometimes together, sometimes separately, always filling my cottage with laughter and chaos and the beautiful noise of family. Their children call me Poppy, and I spoil them outrageously, as grandparents are meant to do. Natalie died last year. I received the news from Chloe, who called me with tears in her voice. We had not spoken in years, but I felt the loss, not of the woman she had become, but of the woman she might have been, the life we might have shared if things had been different. At her funeral, I sat in the back row, watching my daughters grieve. They stood together, arms around each other, strong and resilient and utterly beautiful. They were products of two parents who had failed each other in countless ways, but had somehow, miraculously, succeeded in raising them. After the service, Chloe approached me. "Thank you for coming. She was your mother. I wanted to be here for you. We stood in silence, watching the mourners disperse. Emma joined us, wrapping me in a hug that lasted a long time. I love you, Dad, she whispered. I love you too, sweetheart. Both of you. Always. I flew back to France that night, and as the plane carried me across the Atlantic, I thought about the strange and winding path of my life. The boy who had fallen in love with a woman and her daughters. The man who had sacrificed everything for family. The husband who had been told he was optional. The father who had left and rebuilt and found his way back. I thought about the dinner, the announcement, the ultimatum. I thought about the silent acceptance, the quiet planning, the flight to Paris. I thought about the letters, the visits, the slow reconstruction of a relationship that had nearly been destroyed. I thought about Natalie, and I forgave her. Not because she deserved it, not because it changed anything, but because holding on to anger was a burden I no longer wished to carry. She had been flawed, as we all are. She had made mistakes, as we all do. And she had spent the last years of her life trying to become better, which was more than many people ever attempt. I thought about my daughters, and I felt gratitude so profound it brought tears to my eyes. They had chosen me, again and again, when they didn't have to. They had loved me, across oceans and years and the wreckage of their parents' marriage. They had made me a father, in the only way that mattered. I thought about Sylvie, and I missed her with a familiar ache. She had shown me that love could be simple, that happiness could be ordinary, that the best things in life are often the quietest. She had been my partner, my companion, my home. And I thought about myself, the man I had been, the man I had become, the man I was still becoming. I had been broken, and I had healed. I had been lost, and I had found my way. I had been told I was optional, and I had proven that I was essential. Not to Natalie, not to the life I had left behind, but to myself, to my daughters, to the grandchildren who call me Poppy, to the quiet, peaceful life I had built in a cottage in the French countryside. I was enough. I had always been enough. It had just taken me a while to believe it. The plane descended toward Paris, the city of light spreading beneath me. I thought about my cottage, my garden, my view of the hills. I thought about the children who would visit next week, filling my home with their energy and their love. I thought about the life that awaited me, rich and full and entirely my own. And I smiled, because I had made it. Through pain and loss and the long, hard work of healing. Through betrayal and abandonment and the slow reconstruction of trust. Through the years of separation and the eventual reunion, the letters and visits and the beautiful, imperfect love of my daughters. I had made it, and I was grateful. The plane landed, and I walked out into the Paris night. The air was cool and clean, carrying the familiar sense of the city I had come to love. I climbed into a taxi and gave the driver the address of my cottage, an hour outside the city. As we drove through the dark countryside, I thought about the dinner that had changed everything. The ordinary Tuesday in April, the pasta on the stove, the announcement that had shattered my world. I thought about the silence that had followed, the decision I had made in that silence, the courage it had taken to walk away. I thought about the woman who had made that announcement, now gone, at peace. I thought about the girls who had been caught in the middle, now women with children of their own. I thought about the life I had built, the love I had found, the peace I had earned. And I thought about the transfer. The opportunity one had turned down 15 years ago, the chance I had finally taken, the journey that had led me here. It had not been easy. It had not been quick. But it had been mine. My choice, my path, my life. And it was enough. The taxi pulled up to my cottage, and I climbed out, breathing in the cool night air. The stars were bright overhead, scattered across the sky like promises. I walked to my door, unlocked it, and stepped inside. The cottage was quiet, waiting for me. I moved through the rooms, touching familiar surfaces, grateful for their presence. I paused in the kitchen, where Sylvie and I had cooked countless meals. I paused in the living room, where my daughters had sat with me, talking into the night. I paused in the bedroom, where I would sleep alone, but peacefully. I climbed into bed and closed my eyes. The night wrapped around me, soft and warm and full of possibility. I thought about tomorrow and the next day and all the days after that. I thought about my daughters, my grandchildren, the life that awaited me. And I slept, deeply and peacefully, for the first time in weeks. In the morning, I woke to sunlight streaming through my windows and the sound of birds singing in my garden. I made coffee, carried it to the terrace, and sat watching the hills emerge from the morning mist. My phone buzzed. A text from Chloe. Thinking of you, Dad. Love you. I smiled and typed my response. Love you too. Always. I set down my phone and sipped my coffee. The sun was warm on my face, the birds were singing, and the world was full of beauty and possibility. I was 73 years old. I had loved and lost and loved again. I had been broken and healed and broken again. I had built a life from rubble, found peace in unexpected places, discovered that happiness was not a destination but a way of traveling. And I was grateful for every moment, every choice, every step of the journey. For the daughters who had chosen me, the grandchildren who called me Poppy, the life I had built in a cottage in the French countryside. For the woman who had broken my heart and the woman who had healed it. For the transfer I had finally taken, the courage I had finally found, the peace I had finally earned. I sat on my terrace, watching the sun rise over the hills, and I smiled. Because I had made it. Against all odds, through all the pain, I had made it. And it was beautiful.